joining us already. So thank you everyone for joining. Let us know where you are joining us from. Put a little note in the chat and tell us where you're located. I'm in New Jersey as well as Holly. And it's a beautiful day, so we appreciate you coming in, especially on such a gorgeous afternoon or morning, depending where you're from. So Holly, in West Orange, right?
Yep, West Orange, New Jersey.
Great. And we're only a town away, so I know your weather is good.
Yes, the same. We've got the same weather, but it looks like we've got some people from Raleigh, North Carolina, and sunny Burlington. I'm gonna guess Vermont, but I'm not sure.
I think that one is actually in Canada.
Oh, Canada. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got Florida, where it's always nice. Bowmanville, Ontario. I hope I said Bowmanville right. Thank you everybody for joining us. I think everybody's got great weather, so that's nice. And I really appreciate you being on a Zoom webinar when it is beautiful out. It is going to be a great chat though with Holly. We're just discussing, she has a 5-year-old and I have a 4-year-old. And the challenges of having these types of things with them running around. So if you see anything in the background when this webinar begins, please just understand toddlers are crazy little humans. So
they have a mind of their own, really, so.
It's so true. Well, and I have a girl and you have a boy, so two totally different. Is your son one of those bounce off the wall type of boys, or is he more reserved?
He's a little bit of both. I mean, sadly, over the last 8 weeks, we've let him start jumping on sofas much more so than he did in the past. But he's got a little bit of both. Since he's an only child like your daughter, I think it's interesting because he's really learned how to play by himself during this time, which has been awesome.
Mm-hmm. It's I don't know about it's Zach, right? Your son Zach?
Yes, Zach. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but my daughter, Charlie, it's constant, will you play with me? Will you play with me? Will you play with me? And 90% of the time I'm like, no, not because I don't want to, but busy working, and you feel bad. You do.
Yeah. Well, he's become very accustomed to Zoom calls. When they first started happening, he would shy away from the screen and wouldn't come on, but now he's used to it. And when it's an internal call, I'm not joking, he'll like climb all over me. He loves to get in the screen, show his face, and I'm become like a jungle gym to him. So.
Yeah. Yes, I know all about that. And all of my colleagues who I have weekly meetings with can attest to Charlie hanging from my neck,
right?
Things like that. It's totally normal. I see we have Michelle. Hello, Michelle. Thank you for joining us. And anybody else who is just joining us, please just let us know where you're coming from. We've got a nice group of participants already with us, so thank you. And in a few minutes, we'll get started. We'll just give people some time to log on. So about 3 more minutes. And yeah, we're excited about this chat. I think everybody really wants to have an idea of what the world is going to look like, right? After COVID, or should I say just during COVID, because who knows when after COVID will be. But I find that Nelson has been giving such great feedback on many topics, so you're the perfect person for this series.
So. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's as I'll say, we've all been saying, if we only had a crystal ball to really know what was going to happen, it would be great. But
Yeah,
it is a little bit of a wait and see, but as things start to open up, it'll be really interesting. So
I agree. Oh, look at that. We've got a fellow New Jerseyan, Betty in Princeton. One of my favorite places to go, especially during Christmas time. It's like a Hallmark movie there. And then we have Carol in Central Michigan. Thank you for joining us. I hope everything's okay there in Michigan. I know that there were some flooding, terrible flooding issues recently. So thank you for joining us. So we're about to get started. So thank you for joining. We're starting to get more people in. All right.
I see my one of my college friends and post-college roommates has joined, which is very exciting. Thanks for joining, Julie.
Oh, I love that. Keeping tabs on you after college.
I know.
Making sure you're doing the college right. Good. That's great. Okay. We've got some Ontario. We've got Sarasota. Beautiful. Great. Austin, Texas. Also one of my favorite places. Thanks, Julie, for joining us, and Susan in Sarasota. All right. I think we should get started. Are you ready?
All ready, all set.
All right, so as you know, this webinar is the Respond, Adapt, and Innovate Post-COVID-19 webinar. And we have Holly Williamson here from Nelson Worldwide. She is the design director and based in New York City, well, in New Jersey right now. And Holly, if you could just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and
Sure.
how you became design director at Nelson.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope everyone is staying healthy and doing well. But yeah, so I joined I am one of the design directors for the New York office. Nelson is a company that has offices spread around the world, or around the country rather. We kind of hit from the East Coast to the West Coast and everywhere in the middle. There's about 1,100 teammates worldwide. And I have been in the New York office for about 17 years. Before that, I was in San Francisco and Boston with a focus primarily on workplace design. And I also have a strong interest in well and sustainability as well. And I think those two items, especially now, really are going to be very important as we start designing spaces for the future, so that they're healthy for, healthy for everyone that works there. So really happy to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me, Melissa.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Holly. Obviously, your experience, it sort of really uniquely prepared you for what's happening now. So we'll start with a couple questions, and if anyone joining us wants to ask something in the chat or in the Q&A, please feel free. So let's talk about how Nelson, how you feel like you'll provide a work environment that cultivates creativity, collaboration through all of the teammates, and productivity while you're working remotely. And when you have construction going on in your home, or children running around like wild.
Right, and I also have construction going on in my home too, so I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and those are really great questions, especially now as everyone is remote. We definitely are relying a lot on Zoom like everybody else. We've always done that though. I've always worked from home on Fridays. So once a week I'm home, and that is typical screen sharing time when I'm back and forth with my teammates in the city. I do have a Surface Pro, which has a stylus on it where I can write and mark up things in Bluebeam and just kind of draw like I would on trace paper. So it's pretty awesome. And I think a lot of our teammates who don't have that tool, they're relying on their iPads and their Apple Pens to do that now. So it'll be interesting to see how that sort of becomes the typical way that we'll end up working in the future. We certainly do daily check-ins with everybody, because I think what's so important now is that you just make sure that those people that maybe are living alone, or that maybe like me have a kid, or a parent, or God forbid somebody had someone who was sick, you just want to make sure that everybody is checking in on everybody else and making sure that everybody's healthy and doing well. I mean, other ideas that we have for collaboration include, you know, we use Microsoft Teams and OneNote, so that it's just really a very fluid way of working. And we've done that even when we were in the office. So really working from home didn't change. It changed a lot, but it also didn't change a lot, if that makes sense.
Right. No, I mean, it shows that companies really need to step up their game, right? As far as for the future, even if, you know, once COVID's gone, it's like, it's such a great way to still collaborate, but be able to kind of have your own space. Yeah. So
yeah, and I think it gives us the flexibility. So teammates, I think, now have more flexibility. So the reason I worked from home on Fridays always was so that I had a little bit more time to just get things done during the week. And then also spend a little bit more time with my son when I would pick him up from daycare at the end of a long week. So that was very important to me. And I think now people are kind of gravitating that same way, to be able to have the flexibility in their day, to know when they're going to get their work done, and be able to also put it aside and have personal space.
Which is very important. I mean, I also have worked from home every Friday for the last, you know, 7 or 8 years. And it really, it does help in many ways. You get more done, you know, when you can kind of focus and be in your own space, right? So we will move towards that, obviously, in the future. But while we're moving away from the traditional office landscape, do you think it'll be a positive shift or a threat to team cultures and sort of that camaraderie, that being in a workspace, especially when you think of someone like a WeWork, right? And all of these places, that's the whole point, and we're shying away from that. Do you think it's going to be detrimental or positive or a mixture?
Well, I think culture is so important. And I think the way that you try to develop that culture when people are working from home. What I was reading, something that JLL put out, that I think 25% of the workforce will continue remaining working from home after all of this. So not only do you need to worry about how you're going to integrate them into the culture, but how are you going to hire people? How are you going to attract and retain talent during that avenue? So that the culture of the office needs, you got to figure out how to make it virtual, right? And I think people are really stepping up and doing that now, right? Because everyone's doing virtual happy hours. You know, I think as soon as this all happened, everyone recognized that we really needed to do it. But I know in our office, we do workouts once a week where someone from one of the offices will lead a workout session. It is nothing, crazy pants, but it's just a good way to kind of build morale. And instead of going and taking a walk by yourself, you're working out with your coworkers. So trying to figure out how to get that culture, happening in the virtual world. We just all need to rely on Zoom a little bit more. We need to feel comfortable doing what you and I are doing right now, Melissa, where we're sharing our screens, so we can see each other's facial expressions and really connect with people still. And I think it's going to take a little bit of time, but I think people are just going to start to get used to it. And it is a big challenge, but I think the more you can embrace technology to help with that culture and truly know what your culture is, the better.
I agree. I am going to actually share my screen now. So people can just see a little bit about Nelson and what you do there. Obviously delivering brand experiences, compelling environments, and smart solutions across all the places and this is what's important, work, shop, dine, stay, serve, live, play, thrive. I mean, these are all the things that I feel like we all feel neglected in all of those departments right now. Especially for me, the shop part. And no, really, and the dining and the living and I mean, all of it. So, you know, that obviously, again, is where you come in and help us understand what we can expect. You know, Nelson is a firm that provides services to all of these things, from retail, restaurant, hospitality, workplace, mixed use, industrial, healthcare, public sector industries. How do you join forces with all of these people to ensure that employees, guests, and consumers, that they feel safe in a COVID-19 world?
Sure, that's a really great question, and thanks for giving such a good little shout out and wrap around to what Nelson is. I appreciate that. So Nelson in particular, we started our own PMO, a project management organization, to help strategize with COVID planning, because we felt that we wanted to be able to provide our clients with a really strong sense of an understanding of how we can help them. So that really started with our workplace and landlord tenant service groups, but we're starting to spread it out. I mean, it hit healthcare obviously right away. And I think with any healthcare situation, you have to be able to be very nimble and adapt. And yes, whether or not that was done successfully, you know, I think everyone's learned a lot for how to make it get better in the future and really become more nimble. And I think everyone's going to have to learn how to do that. But so anyway, back to the workplace and landlord, those types of things are really starting to branch out into hospitality and retail as those two sectors really start to see how they're going to open up. And I think even there's aspects of healthcare that can really take a lot from workplace as well, sort of the back of house office spaces and how you're going to move around those spaces, circulate, be aware of physical distancing. But, you know, outside of the COVID world, I know at Nelson, we really tried to integrate, we've always tried to integrate how the different market areas work together. I know I talk regularly with our hospitality team to understand how to make a better, say, conference center or reception area for our workplace clients, right? And how to integrate some of those bits and pieces in. Retail, same way. I think there's so many opportunities with like a work cafe that have a retail bend to them. So we always try to really work together as a team throughout the entire office, whatever market sector you're working on.
Makes sense. I mean, and you also, there's so many different sects you do have to communicate. I see we have a question come in. So let's take a look. A question from Mark. As an independent sales rep, any suggestions on how to service your type of firm, a Nelson, let's say, in this new environment? So if you're selling, let's say, fabric like we do, or furniture, do you have any tips on how you like to see this product, or you know, how in the future you think would be best to be serviced by your reps?
No, it's an awesome question, because I wonder how many reps are going to actually be allowed to come into spaces, right? Like how many people are really going to let guests come into your space at least? And I'm speaking from New Jersey, New York, but we're sort of at the epicenter here of all the madness that's happening. And maybe we're a little more cautious than some of the other people from the country. I don't know where Mark's coming from.
Yeah. He's in Georgia, so.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe, you know, and I know Georgia opened up a couple weeks ago, so maybe maybe that helps. But back to the answer, you know, I know that lots of reps have been getting in front of us with Zoom meetings. So if you haven't been doing that, I feel like definitely start doing that. One of my friends who's a carpet rep, she was making videos of the new lines that were coming out so that you can watch them in your own time, because I know I can't make half the, I mean, my gosh, there's so many webinars happening right now. I'm so excited that we have 69 people here today, because there's probably a lot of other competition happening. But it's like tons of webinars, tons of new product updates. I'm super excited to see how NeoCon is going to roll out what, the Neo Connect is, I guess, what they're calling it. And it'll be interesting to see how they're able to really generate the buzz around that. I think they already have started to do that.
Yeah.
So I guess those two things, the videos, I would add that we have been relying on Material Bank for a lot of things to get samples. So that's always, I know I shouldn't be plugging them.
No,
but
no,
that's
it's
always
okay.
a really great way for us to get stuff.
Members, Holly, but in due time, with Material Bank, it's great, especially right now, right? If we knew this was going to happen, it'd be different. But eventually, obviously, that's the way everybody's going to go. We were just sort of waiting for it to really take off.
And I think, so now I think it's a good point. But to be fair, the reps get us stuff just as quickly. It's just, it's a little harder. But so those two things I think are the most important. I know that one of the Herman Miller reps here in the city, she was doing like a wine hour every Friday, which is a nice way to still connect with people. So I still think you can, still interact with people. You just have to do it in a little bit different way.
Yeah. Great question, Mark, and awesome answer, Holly. I'm seeing a little tidbit from Julie that's adding live links to mood boards has been effective for shipping samples to clients as well. So that's a really great tip, Julie. Thank you. Mood boards. Great. Especially because it is hard right now. Getting things shipped. And then we have another question. Which industries do you feel would have the easiest transition into the new normal, and which ones would be the most challenged? So I think as far as like all the sects, versus obviously restaurant, right? But, between retail, hospitality, workplace, mixed use, who do you think is going to? That's a...
Again, if I had the crystal ball, we'd all be, I'm like, this is a tricky question. And I love that they're anonymous. I'm like, is this one of my coworkers quizzing me on this?
It's your college,
right. Exactly. So, I think I'm going to elude the answer for a second by talking about it in a different way. So I think retail has really had to take a spin, right? As things start to open up, you're doing curbside pickup now. You're ordering online. Restaurants too, you're ordering online, not like you wouldn't have done that before, but there are just a little more precautions put in place now. And I think some of those, it'll be interesting to see which of those trends or services that were being offered still continue to be offered, right? Like, can I still call my West Elm store down the street and go pick up whatever I needed? Those are, I think, the interesting changes that are going to happen. I think that we are approaching how you can get back into the workplace successfully and in a healthy manner. I don't think that 100% of the workforce is going to come back all at once. And I think most places are rolling it out gradually as well. So you take it, 25% at a time, give it a 3-week, 2-week, 3-week period to see how it rolls out. But I would, I'd like to think that within time, workplace can also return. I think one of the challenges is hotels and that industry. I have seen how hotels are really, giving a lot to service workers, the homeless. I think, some of those things are really commendable, even people that were, ill. So I think that's really great. But I think some of those cleaning regimens it's going to be a little trickier for them. And I think that's the hospitality industry's time to really figure out how they give back to their communities, to show that they're really involved and indebted and care about their communities that they're with.
I was actually on a webinar as a viewer yesterday, boutique design, And one of the interesting things they talked about were hotels having to work with more restaurants and retail, like really combining forces, because that will probably help lift all of them. So it's really going to be just this collaborative for all of these industries. So hopefully,
well,
so I'm going to share this
even
while you're talking, just so people can see.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing I was going to add is that if you can kind of think outside the box of how your industry might be able to service people, like I think Panera ended up, you know, since they couldn't sell things, they started doing grocery deliveries. And, you know, that to me was really interesting. They have the food, why not sell it? So the more that you can think a little outside the box there, the better. It looks like there was another question. I'm losing a little track.
Let's see. Let me
I think it says, I got it here.
You got it? Okay.
I can read the question.
Right.
Can you suggest a way to safely show samples? Yes.
So you can see them?
So I got the question, so I'm happy to read it. It's from it's from Christina. It says, can you suggest a way to safely show samples, floor plans, fabrics, et cetera, to clients in a retail showroom setting while still keeping a safe distance? Okay, so I guess it's like you're in like a tile showroom or like a showroom that's sort of open. Yeah, I mean, I would just rely on digital. I would start with my floor plans on a screen. If you don't have a screen, I'd say an iPad. And then I would probably set everything up so that it's ready to go, and then take 3 or 4 steps back so that your client can get closer. And I think this is what I'll admit, I have not been to any client meetings, but I have talked to people in our office that have, and they took proper safety precautions, obviously, but they basically did the same thing. They laid out all the samples that they had, stepped back. One person would go up to look at the samples at a time. And you just need to know your product and what you're showing really well to understand that, like, yes, you're looking at the carpet that's going in the boardroom, or, you know, that's the upholstery that's going on the reception room chair, that kind of thing. Right. So I think that is going to become a real, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a new way of thinking and processing how you're really doing things. But I think relying on technology for sure for the floor plans is key.
Just before you read the next question, we were talking about this Kentucky Fried Chicken in Australia, right?
Yep.
I think if you could just speak on, it kind of goes back to the last question. I mean, about changing the way, this actually obviously before COVID, but if you want to just talk about what it is.
Yeah, so this is a great example of how technology was really changing the way that Kentucky Fried Chicken wanted to start working, right? So again, this was in Australia. I think it launched about a year ago, but the idea is that there's different car lanes where you can either go and pick up your online order or order online and still wait and pick up your food like you would a normal drive-through. But again, this all just goes back to how the world is changing. You really need to rely on technology. Everyone is using their cell phone more and more now. Why not order online if you know you're going to be, driving by in 10 minutes to pick up your dinner, and then you can bring your dinner home. But it is interesting and poignant that it happened a year ago, and now I'm sure that this is a very, an idea that's popping into a lot of people's heads.
I'm sure there are a lot more cars in those lanes right about now.
Yeah.
Because it's, it's easy, it's safe. Okay, do you want to read another question, Holly?
There's no more. We don't have any more. Those were the top 3. Yeah, okay. That's all I've got.
Great. So, I mean, not great. If you have questions, please keep them coming. But I will also throw you a question, Holly.
Yep.
As a working mother, with the possibility, especially here in New Jersey and in New York, with the possibility of school not reopening until September or maybe even later, which we're
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I know. But how do you, as the design director of Nelson, New York, how do you balance it? Like, how are you able to get your work done, have your 5-year-old using you as a monkey bar? Like, how do you balance? Give us some tips.
Yes. Oh, I got lots of good tips.
Okay. I need.
Yeah. Well, I think we both do. We can probably, anyway. So the first thing I did, and I'm a very schedule oriented person, but I definitely blocked out chunks of time for my son every day because I knew that I was going to have to be teaching kindergarten. So that was the first thing I did. I have 2 hours blocked out every day. One is for recess and then one is for education, right? And luckily my husband he's also here all the time. So he's able to take on some of that as well, which is great. And I don't know what I would do if I was alone, but I'm not. So that creating the schedule, my son is super routine oriented. So that really helps, I think, both of us. Now, granted, there are days when a client comes up and I have to take that time slot for a client and I just have to hope that the day doesn't fall apart. Yeah. The other thing that is essential to me is that I still get up every morning at 6 o'clock and work out, because if I do not work out, I'm not a happy camper.
I was just
and I have to.
I'm the same. I get up at 6 a.m. every morning, and then you said work out, and that's where that's where we differ. Yeah.
Yeah. I need, or like I go for a walk, even if it's not like a real, like get up and go workout, I still need to find time for myself. So whether or not, and I find that 6 is the easiest time for me because my son's still sleeping, my husband's still sleeping, and then I have the house to myself.
That sounds like,
and then I've always been the person that logs in at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night after my son goes to bed to check in on things. Unfortunately, that still happens. I would say actually less so now than it was when I was working in the city, because I think I'm just, there's so much more happening in my day that I have to make super efficient use of my time during the day. And I really, if I don't have time for something, I either delegate it to somebody else,
right,
or it goes to the do list.
Yeah.
But I do find that the more time that I can spend with my son, even if I'm on a conference call, kind of doodling things with him while he's coloring, you know, internal calls, you and I were talking about it earlier, internal calls, he'll be climbing all over me, sitting next to me. And if it's an internal call, it doesn't really matter to me, but I do think that you have to try to make sure that you're paying attention to your kids. And then I've also been rewarding good behavior so that more of it happens.
I've been doing,
you know, whether it's with like an extra video at the end of the day or more time to go outside. Yeah.
I think that's great. I think what I'm taking from it is that scheduling is really important, and having set times during your day for your particular, keeping a routine. I think for me, it was really hard to keep a routine going right away because everything just was so thrown off balance. So, you know, structuring your day, you know, giving time for family, because I think one of the problems about remote working sometimes is that you're assumed to always be working. There's this, there's a little bit of a dilemma there because you're not commuting, you're just always in one spot right now. So there is that feeling of when do you cut it off? I know I have that problem, kind of always just checking my email no matter the time of day or the hour, and that's a personality trait. But it's also, you know, it is important to say an hour goes to recess, an hour goes to, you know, being outside and you know, just sort of managing your time that way. So I think that's great. Looks like we have another question. Another anonymous attendee. These are always the tricky questions. Oh no, wait, hold on. Oh yes. What has been the biggest learning curve Nelson faced while working remotely, and how
Are
are
you
they
there?
managing, if any? From Anonymous. Would you like
Right.
to answer
So
that?
yeah,
You kind of did a little bit.
yeah, I can try it. I was going to say I touched on it a little bit earlier. Just, using Zoom, Bluebeam, Microsoft Office. But I think, again, all those things were already we're very lucky. We've got, great technology. So a lot of those things were already in place.
Right.
And as you and I discussed, I've always worked from home at least once a week, if not more, based on just having clients out here in New Jersey or whatever too. So, we're definitely not, I'm not a micromanager where I'm like, what did you do every hour of your day? I trust my staff and I trust my teammates that if there's an assignment, you're going to get it done. And I think I talked about how flexible working hours really kind of helps just everyone get through the day. So I think the biggest challenge with all of this was that I also mentioned this, but it is very important. It's those daily check-ins. So we have like a leadership check-in at 8:30 every morning, and then that goes down to a local check-in at 9 o'clock, and then the team leads take the check-in to 9:30. So there's always that check-in with the people to make sure that everyone is healthy and happy and not losing their mind.
Oh, yes. And how long do those, are they quick? Are they 20 minutes or? Okay.
Yeah. So they're like a 20-minute quick check-in. I mean, the best thing about the leadership ones is that we've never even had an opportunity every day to talk. It's just our Northeast team. So it's Boston, Philly, and New York. We never had the opportunity to do that. And, where we're lucky if we could all get together once a week, to be honest. And now it's sort of ingrained in us. So it'll be interesting to see how, when we all do go back to work, how that sort of transitions and changes. But we're really putting our heads together to think of how do we want to get out of this, and what do we want to be when we get out of it. So that's time that is really well spent.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to share the screen again so we can look at more of your work, or Nelson's work, I should say. You didn't do all of these by yourself, Holly, but
no. I have, like I said, I have a strong bent in workplace design. I have been a workplace design geek for my 20 plus years of doing this. So, but we've obviously done some really great retail projects. This is the American Girl doll shop in, I think, Chicago. So it's, for those that have little girls, very exciting place. We do, T-Mobile in New York City and Times Square. So there's a lot of really great retail projects. And like I said, I think the more that we can learn from, you look at that left picture of T-Mobile, right? It looks just like a work cafe in a workplace, but it's, it's the blending of the retail with the workplace that I think just becomes so successful as a place to just come and be really, really great. So
are you, when you're speccing products, and again, I'll bring up fabric just because that's what I do and what we do at JNF. Has it been a topic of conversation, making sure that you're checking with your vendors to find products that are going to be cleanable, bleach cleanable, things like that? Has that been a topic that you want to make sure your library is now suited for this, COVID-19 world that we live in?
Yeah, and that's a really great question. And I think, especially with textiles, not all of them are bleach cleanable. And you don't want to bleach clean something that cannot handle it. So you need to be very careful with that. And I think items like that, we are going to really think about how we're using them in those high traffic, high touch areas, right? Like reception areas. The work cafe, I would say that we always had materiality there that was easily cleanable. And But the reception areas, maybe some of the conference rooms that are more front facing for, you know, front of house, those to me are things that we'll need to really pay more attention to, especially, you know, healthcare has always been there, but I was
Right.
looking at this picture in retail, retail and hospitality for
I think I lost you there.
manufacturer. Oh,
You're back.
yeah, you're back. Okay. I think it'll push manufacturers to make products that are bleach cleanable and more cleanable to be a little prettier and
Yeah.
like maybe have a different hand
Yeah.
and just be more attractive and more versatile for everyone to use.
Yeah. And obviously it's something we've always been striving for on this end as a manufacturer, you know, is making beautiful products that withstand the test of time and can be cleaned easily. So good to know that it is important, especially in all different types of spaces now. Obviously,
Yeah.
like you said, healthcare always has been, but now you'll see it more in, you know, different avenues. So I think we had another question, Holly. Did you see one, or am I getting that wrong?
I didn't. Let's
No?
see. Oh, let's see. Oh, this is a long one. Yeah. From Jennifer. Do you think economic decline is going to hurt our industry in terms of client demand for our services as well as overall budgets for projects? Also, how would you suggest reaching out to a new business client at this time? I feel strange even publishing a newsletter right now. Right. Okay. So the first question is it going to hurt our industry? I hope not.
We're like, okay, this is over. Bye. You know,
yeah.
you know.
See, nice designing you for 25 years. I mean, I think that everything is going to have to pivot a little bit, especially in the near future. But as vaccines are discovered, as a vaccine is discovered or cures, I still think people really, like, our gut instinct is to be together and to collaborate and come together. And so we've often talked at Nelson that office, you know, we joke that the office 10 years from now is just going to be like a conference center, more like a co-working space, right? Where you just go in when you need it. And I think that this 10 years did not, you know, it came in a year. It did not take 10 years for us to get there. But I do wonder if those spaces, you know, it'll go more to unassigned seating, even though there is the sort of germ issue to it. I think you're going to go into the office when you want to collaborate, when you want to see the people that are going to like help get your creative juices flowing. So we definitely still need offices and hotels. We're going to always need hotels. We're still going to want to go out and eat in restaurants. So I think a lot of that, you know, like I'm looking at these pictures here of this project of ours in the Nomad district or part of Manhattan, and you know, it's a building that got renovated. It's got a lot of public spaces, and I think that's the other end of the spectrum, right? New tenants are gonna look for spaces that have all these amenities wrapped into their buildings, so that everyone can use them. And I can't imagine that the world is going to shut down with all of this. I mean, we still have a lot of projects that we're working on, and I think there was another part of this question about, will the overall budgets for projects go down? And you know, a lot of this reminds me of 2008. Melissa, I know you were around then.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically, it seemed like, and it was the saddest thing, but it seemed like every textile mill went out of business then, and you would have this awesome fabric that you like had just specified for a project, and then you couldn't get it anymore because the textile mill had gone out of business. So I hope that we've learned things from '08 to be able to sort of keep the supply chain and businesses like that more stable.
Yeah.
But you know, if clients start spending a little less money on projects, that's okay with me, because I'd still like them to have the projects. And I think it just makes you be a little bit more creative about how you have to approach the budget, right? So instead of $150 a square foot, you have $100 a square foot. How do you still give them that awesome space on a lower budget? Or how do you do it so that maybe in 2 years they can add that zippy wall feature that they wanted,
Right.
but they couldn't afford at the time?
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Great question. And a difficult one.
I think she, I think she also asked, this is tricky too. How would you suggest reaching out for new client business at this time? And, you know, I think we've just approached it from the point of how can we help you in this time? We know you want to get back to work. How can we help you feel comfortable defining what your new workspace is going to look like?
Right.
And I've certainly had many conversations with clients. I haven't reached out to new clients to say, hey, what do you know, but I think right now you just need to be there for your existing clients and really show them how you can help them.
I think
And
that's
we've
really
been,
important. I read an article today. It said something about, you know, yes, obviously we need to seek new business, but what's really important right now is making sure your current business, your current clients, everything you do as a company, whether you're the manufacturer or the designer, is to just focus on what you already have and make sure that you are continuing that business and making sure they're okay and they have everything you need. So I think that's good. And obviously, yes, new business is important. And I'm sure there's a delicate way to broach that without seeming insensitive or something. I don't know if that's what the question was getting at, but.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I guess we're lucky at Nelson because we have a large bandwidth of, you know, there's a lot of different market areas that are coming together to write pieces on COVID and produce thought leadership pieces that are easy to share with new clients, even with clients that we've been potentially chatting with over time. So I think anytime you can share thought leadership with them to show what the industry is doing, what your stance is on something, I think you should not hesitate to send something like that out.
Yeah, no, I agreed. That's great. Did we have another one or?
Yeah. It looks like there's actually a whole bunch.
Okay.
So
we have some time. I mean, I'll keep scrolling a little bit. And then if you want to take some of those, Holly, let me stop the share for a minute just so we can, okay.
Yeah, it says, how are clients responding to the new procedures for meetings? Well, I'm in New Jersey, we're still work at home. So I'm not, you know, everything's still Zoom related. And I will say that I work on a lot of large enterprise accounts where we never meet our clients in person. We always do our presentations, whether it's a SD or schematic design or design development presentation over the phone with, you know, whether it's WebEx or Zoom or whatever. So I think some of those clients are more used to working this way. And, you know, I've been on calls with hedge fund managers from New York for those clients, and they're adapting just as easily. And I think we've been able to, you know, again, ship off samples to them, have them in our home, and really kind of make sure that they can still touch and feel all the materials, because that is so important in what we're doing. So I don't know if that question had to do with what happens when a conference room that sat 8 goes down to a conference room that sits 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is just part of the new norm. I hate that term. It's just part of what you're gonna have to get used to, how you work. Yeah.
Let's try to coin something new, everybody. Come on, in this chat, what's better than a new normal? It's like no one wants to hear that anymore. I do want to shout out to some people on the chat. Julieta Alvarez, just saying, wow, huge project, well done. So kudos to Nelson. Jennifer, love the T-Mobile sofa with pink accent. I agree. Okay, Lisa loves the slides, that they're very inspirational. So thank you, Lisa. And then I don't know where we left off with questions, Holly, but did you get
Yeah,
to the one from?
there's two more. So they're both from anonymous, but one is, how do you think the new landscape will affect shared workplaces? How will you design differently? I mean, more than half my clients do unassigned seating. So it's a great question. And what I've seen one of them doing is that they're going to be bringing in a team every month, so that the team, so if there's 100 people in the office, and that's, small, but 25 people will come in one week, the next 25 people will come in the next week, 25 the next week, and then and it's still super low density. I mean, you're not, if, that's a quarter of your seats are being used, but I have yet to see how the shared seating is actually going to work. And it's a great question, and I think it's one that we'll have answers to within the next few, months or so. But I have clients that are still moving ahead with shared seating. So
Interesting.
I think it just, it comes down to cleaning protocols.
Yeah.
And potentially using, like, I've seen there's a video that was going around, I think, from Cushman and Wakefield, where you have like bring a giant placemat, to your workplace, and that sort of protects it. So we'll have to see how that works out, but I don't know. I know that doesn't answer you. And then someone else said, does Nelson support local buying where possible? So, we're all over the country, which I think is great. And I think, when I think of local buying, I think of drywall, glass, like kind of more things like that, to how to get your construction site up and running. I think if it's a lead project, you're always looking for things that are local. And then certainly for furniture, a lot of times we'll look to local artisans to help, fill in those special pieces. I'm not quite sure I understand the question fully, but hopefully I answered that.
They can always follow up if you want.
Yeah.
It does kind of bring me to something that we discussed talking about, but with the changes that we have to make, right? Whether it's moving things around so we're not so close, or adding sanitation and things like that. Do you feel that design will be compromised by adding these things? Are you guys going to be able to work around it, or do you just sort of feel like deep down, like, ugh, it's gonna be a challenge. Things might not look as pretty as before, or do you think that, hey, maybe it'll just be the new normal and it's gonna look great? I mean, what are your thoughts there?
No, I think that's a really good question. And I do think that in the immediate future, especially, again, I go back to New York because it's a little bit more of a hot spot, but I think there's going to have to be some design compromise, unfortunately. I don't know, your reception desks, whether or not you put plexiglass up, which just gives the impression of a bank teller. If you're not a bank teller, it's not normal.
No.
But maybe there's just a bigger barrier, or there's ways to sort of work around that. I do think that one of the ways that you can solve for some of this is by really introducing great signage and wayfinding, and having those things have a little bit more personality, exude either the personality of your culture, or be a little more optimistic in the way that they're going to, it's not nagging you to wash your hands for 20 seconds. It's a happy reminder of why you don't forget to wash your hands, or just kind of fun, more playful ways to do it. But I'm really hoping that by using the new materials that we kind of spoke about earlier, using the appropriate materials, that can help. And then I do think that there's going to be a lot more emphasis put on well and LEED designed buildings, because those, we know from, studies that those buildings just are healthier environments for you mentally and physically. And
Yeah.
so if I, I might actually, it would be important to me. I know our Philadelphia office is well certified, and that's awesome. And I love that Nelson took a stance on that. But now I want the New York office. I want the Boston office. I want, all the offices to have that, because that makes me feel more confident as an employee.
Can you tell the audience, just describe what well means?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So it's, golly, I don't know what it stands for, and I probably should, but it's, I know, sorry, we go off scripted. So it's just it's another accreditation similar to LEED. If you don't know what LEED is, LEED was the original sort of accreditation to make sure that you're using recycled materials that come from local resources, your HVAC system, so your mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all are very efficient. Oh my gosh, there's so much, there's how your water is used, all that stuff. It's very important. So WELL takes it a step further, and you actually get tested every year to make sure that your indoor air quality still meets certain recommendations. It suggests using healthy snacks. If you have a vending machine, no more Snickers bars, you're gonna offer apples instead. And then also gets you moving, right? It suggests that you put stairs in, you add biophilia, so you're adding plants and just other things like that. I think sit stand desks, I feel like, are really a strong part of the WELL practice as well, so that you're not always sitting in the same space, sitting in the same location all the time. And then they have FitWell, which takes it a step further and really gets you moving and sort of activated in your space. But to me, those are things that I think are really, really important.
Yeah, no. Seeing these beautiful outdoor, nothing like a crowded space, an outdoor mall to make us all feel just a little sad.
I know. But the truth is that those spaces, I kind of feel like those spaces, though, they'll still come back to life, and maybe there will be some social, physical distancing aspects to them. But that, to me, like the live, work, play environments, I think are really what makes a neighborhood and creates a really a very dynamic location space to be.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we're wrapping up. I did want to give everyone a chance, if there's any more, if anyone has any more questions right before we leave for Holly. We have a few more minutes, but I just really appreciate your time. I do see another, I think, question maybe came thing. Yeah. Jennifer, is this one of your friends? She said, both of you look like you just came from the hair salon. What's your secret? Just kidding.
Oh, God.
I loved you, and then just kidding.
I don't know who Jennifer is, but
I love you, Jennifer. And it's funny because totally unrelated, but I've told this before. My daughter was hanging on my neck, and she said, "Do you have something black in your hair?" And then I realized it was just my roots that she was talking about. And I said, oh God. I was like, yes, Mommy, this is the real mommy under here. So, but thank you, Jennifer.
I kind of joked with, I joked with my husband the other day that I was going to let the blonde go and just let the gray come in. And he kind of looked at me like, do not do that. And I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to get to the hair salon. So we'll see.
One day. And, we'll all get back to normal soon. And no one came up with a good alternative to the new normal, but maybe at a later date we'll have something. So thank you, everyone. Really, thank you, Holly, especially. That was so informative. I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, and I hope. Oh, sorry, I don't want to leave anyone out. Just more that we look great. God, okay, Jennifer.
Yeah, they're like, thanks for your realness. That's from my college roommate. I'm like, well, you knew how I would be.
Oh gosh. Well, I think
it's all good.
On that note, and all and all of the thank yous and how awesome we look, we'll leave it at that. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you all being here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us and or me and supporting Nelson. I really do appreciate that too. And stay healthy, everybody.
Stay healthy. Bye, everyone.